not complied with the presidential directive on how it should allocate revenue generated to power sector players. Some analysts believe this could be accounting for the current outages. Also in this program, Ghana's hosting of the All African Games continues to come under scrutiny as questions are asked of the adequacy of plans put in place by the organizing committee. And much later, Ghana Water Company limits water supply to the central region, following massive pollution of water sources by illegal miners. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC, has established that the Electricity Company of Ghana has since August 2023 not complied with the presidential directive. This directive was to streamline how the power distributor shares revenue obtained from power sales to various players in the value chain, including independent power producers. Some analysts are already pointing to this default as the reason for the periodic outages the nation has in the last few years contended with. More on this shortly, but first, here are key aspects of the report as issued by the PRC. So first, this revenue distribution mechanism is called the Cash Waterfall Mechanism. Under this module, ECG must pay IPPs who are Level A stakeholders $43 million monthly, that is 514 million cedis. Level B beneficiaries, on the other hand, are to receive 300 million cedis monthly. The remaining revenue is to be shared to other players based on agreed proportion. Level A beneficiaries include Sen Power, Amandi, Asogli, and Aska Power Plant. Level B beneficiaries include VRA, Bui, Gridco, and ECG. Let's focus on the PRC report now. And ECG reported a total revenue of 820 million cedis for the month of January. Payments made to Level A beneficiaries totaled 120 million cedis instead of 540 million cedis. Payment to Level B beneficiaries was 162 million cedis instead of 300 million cedis. Some Level B beneficiaries like Gridco, VRA received no payment for January. ECG was required to pay itself the required 62 million cedis. When the president addressed the nation last month, this is what he has to say. Listen, and we'll continue with the rest.
Additionally, the government negotiating team has reached commercial agreements on headline terms for the restructuring of power purchase agreements and arrears with AXA, Amandi, Sen Power, Senate, and Early Power, and is finalizing remaining definitive documentation of such terms, which will result in total expected savings in excess of $9.1 billion over the lifespan of the IPP projects. In the meantime, ECG has been able to secure a fixed monthly energy purchase price with all the IPPs. This has led to a monthly payment of 43 million United States dollars instead of the 77 million United States dollars. That is monthly savings of $34 million, or a 44% reduction in monthly payments, a far better outcome than the take-or-pay system we inherited.
So that was President Akufo-Addo there speaking as part of his State of the Nation address. Now, in the meantime, ECG has been able to secure a fixed monthly energy purchase price with all the IPPs. That has led to a monthly payment of $43 million instead of $77 million. That is monthly savings of $34 million, or a 44% reduction in monthly payments, a far better outcome than the take-or-pay system we inherited. You heard President Akufo-Addo there. Now, we'll be speaking to an energy expert very shortly, but as we know from the PRC, PURC, ECG is not paying the $43 million monthly, at least per data provided for January. And we'll be bringing you some analysis shortly. But ahead of that, the former president and flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, is also questioning the continued denial of the managers of the energy sector to release a timetable over what he has described as the return of Dumso. Speaking in Sisala West, John Mahama said he cannot understand why the government has chosen to be dishonest in its dealings with the people.
When I was president, if things were not going well, I told the people of Ghana things are not going well. And this is what we're trying to do about it. I think my honesty was one of the major problems that I had, because I didn't think that I should fool my people. Today, every day, you sleep and the lights go off. And we know that they are shedding load. They have a problem with generation. Some generation assets are down. They have a problem with paying for gas. They have a problem with paying for fuel. So every day they are shedding between 280 and 480 megawatts of power. But they will not give us a timetable and say you'll be off today, this one will be off tomorrow, because that's what Ghanaians know as Dumso. And so we'll just put off the lights anytime and reduce the number of megawatts so that the system won't go down. But we don't call it Dumso. And so there's no Dumso. But we know that it's Dumso.
Former President John Mahama there seems the ECG listened. The company, meanwhile, says that power consumers are likely to see more outages during the peak hours of 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. A statement issued by the company notes that more than 630 transformers have been identified to be at full capacity due to increased demand. Let's look at aspect of that statement coming from the Electricity Company of Ghana. It says 630 distribution transformers within communities across operational areas identified to be full to capacity due to increased demand. Situation result in blown fuses and broken conductors, causing outages, especially during peak load period. That's between 7 and 11 p.m. And ECG assures customers transformer upgrading and new projects are ongoing to relieve these transformers to ensure a more reliable power supply. Like I said, we'll be bringing you a short analysis on this subject very shortly. But again, ahead of that, activities of illegal miners on the Prairie River has forced the Ghana Water Company Limited in the central region to cut down water production by 30%. The situation, described as very worrying by the water company, has caused weeks of acute water shortage in some parts of Cape Coast metropolis and Elmina, forcing residents to trek long distances in search for water. Central Regional Correspondent Thomas Khan joins us live on the phone with the latest. Thomas, what can you report on this situation now?
Well, the situation has really gotten the residents in Cape Coast and Elmina really talking. And there are times when the Ghana Water Company comes out to tell them the effects of the galamsey, most of them do not believe it. But now they feel that they also have a part to play. And this situation, for instance, Cape Coast has quite a number of senior high schools. There's this one school which is also located in the Cape Coast South constituency where they have a girls' hostel. Unfortunately, some of these students are also not fed at all, so making everything difficult for them. They have to wake up very early to trek some distances in search of water. And this is something that they feel that authorities need to, as soon as possible, fix the problem for the problem to be really be resolved.
Obviously, residents are not happy about it, listening to you, but what can you tell us about what officials are doing to deal with the problem at hand?
At the moment, according to the Ghana Water Company, they are doing everything to salvage the situation. For instance, when we went to the Fetchahima water treatment site, we saw that they have begun some dredging, which they say they have given themselves about 10 days to finish that. According to them, that dredging has become very necessary because of the activities of the mining activities going on the Prairie River. which has, given them some problem in some of their water pumps. And at the moment, they are doing everything possible to even finish the dredging and then do everything to salvage the problem. And at the moment, they say that they are going to do some engagement with the communities situated along their stations or water treatment plants to also tell them the effect of the galamsey. We spoke to the engineers, said Atiapa, who is the regional chief manager of the Ghana Water Company in the Central Region.
Thomas, we don't have that. We'll bring that later. But I hear you talk about people trekking long hours to get water. Let me ask you two questions in one. Where are they getting the water from? Are the sources okay? And what are health officials saying about that?
Well, for some of the residents, they are sometimes lucky to get to some individual homes where they have wells. And, because of the numbers demanding water, the wells, at a point, they just go for the water and they try to draw the water, and then at no point in time, the water gets finished. And some also have to trek long hours to places where the tap is kind of flowing but at a low pressure, because the situation, apart from what is happening, has forced Ghana Water to even ration water to some places. And mind you, we said that there are places, not everywhere in the Cape Coast metropolis, for instance, is affected, but places where it's not affected, that is where these residents have to trek to go and get the water.
Thank you very much, Thomas Khan. He is our Central Regional Correspondent. Thank you for bringing us those details now. Chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Dr. Ernest Edujemfi, is this afternoon encouraging political parties to adopt alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to settle inter- and intra-party conflicts as part of preparations for a peaceful election in 2024. Speaking at a two-day training of political parties on ADR, the chairman of the Peace Council charged political parties to adopt sustainable dispute resolution mechanisms to reduce election-related violence. All right, so let's cross over to Noble Crosby, who is monitoring the event for us. He joins us live. Crosby, what can you tell us from there?
Well, Beatrice, today the Peace Council has put together almost all the political parties in the country. There's the presence of the NDC, the NPP is here. The PNC is also represented here. The LCG, almost all political parties have represented at the Peace Council's political party trust building program and as well as inter-party mechanism for addressing conflicts. The objective of the training program, Beatrice, is to enhance the knowledge and skills of political parties on alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, so that these parties can use it to address their intra-conflict as well as inter-conflict in Ghana. We know that we are in an election year. The Peace Council is saying that if political parties are able to adopt sustainable methods to solve the challenges they have within themselves, they will be able to solve the challenges they have out of themselves. And essentially, it will translate to a peaceful 2024 general elections. The PNC chairman, the NPC chairman, I beg your pardon, the National Peace Council chairman, he has been speaking about the importance of this training. And like I said, it is to enhance the capacity of these political parties and build their capacities on alternative dispute resolutions and provide platforms at the national and regional level that will enable dialogues and consensus building mainly and address these political party conflicts. This is what he has been saying.
The objective of this two-day meeting here is to strengthen our collective capacities and build skills on alternative dispute resolution mechanisms as part of our preparation for a peaceful general election later this year. As the foremost peace-building institution in Ghana, our goal is to have political parties that have the capacity to address their own internal party differences anytime such differences arise with well-established mechanisms. It is our belief that stronger and self-regulating political parties are imperative for resilient democracies. Distinguished colleagues, we are here therefore to enhance our collective capacities in alternate dispute resolution. It is our goal that political parties in Ghana would develop sustainable dispute resolution structures that seeks to strengthen consensus building mechanisms.
And you heard the Reverend Dr. Ernest Edijemfi. He is the chairman of the National Peace Council. Earlier, you heard our reporter Noble Crosby bringing us updates from that program. Let's return to our first story about the Electricity Company of Ghana and the fact that ECG has not been paying IPPs, among others, what is due them. I'm joined by Nana Amosie, the 7th. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon to you, Beatrice, and good afternoon to you.
Your line is not so clear. I wish you could reposition yourself so we can hear you clearly, but I'll still go ahead and ask.
Okay, Beatrice.
It's better. Thank you very much. Let me first ask you whether you share in the concern that this revenue distribution challenge could be the cause of the recent outages we are experiencing.
Well, Beatrice, this is not something new. It is something we've been, trumpeting for a while. And when you speak from civil society space, you are saying us not really informed. However, the data that PRC or the information they've sent out comes to confirm our position that it's the financial constraint or the liquidity challenge in the sector that is, giving out the power outages that we're seeing today. And so it comes to validate our concern and our position we've held for a long time.
So let me just give you the figures again, which I know you do have. For instance, the payment to Level B beneficiaries was 162 million cedis instead of 300. For Level A, it was 120 million instead of 514. Just a little over half for each of these categories of beneficiaries that the ECG is supposed to pay. Why, in your opinion, do you think the ECG will take the money from us, consumers and others, and refuse to give these people what is due them?
Well, it's difficult to tell why you have a cash waterfall system, and being the major power distributor in the country, you collect all the revenue that within the value chain, then expected to share, proportionally. But you don't do that. It's something a bit imagination. But they also come to probably give an indication that the money is either misapplied or misappropriated. It's a challenge here. In the Level A category, I'm sure you've mentioned all the independent power producers. Yes, WAPO is also part, the transmitter or exporter of the natural gas from particularly the Western Corridor to the Eastern Corridor. Then, even in the category B, where you have the utilities plus Grid Authority, they are unable to pay more than 50% of what is due them. It makes it difficult for these utilities to maintain their system, to maintain a reliable and adequate supply of whatever is of them, be it the power, be it the transmission of the power, or the transmission of the natural gas or the fuel. And so if they are not able to also assure this because of the financial constraints, then enough power will not be churned out, enough will not be transmitted for ECG to distribute. And therefore, consumers' load will be more than the load or the power that is supposed to meet the load. At that moment, Beatrice, some power has to be shared because if consumers expect 1,000 megawatts, and ECG can only get 800 megawatts because of whatever reason, whether due to transmission problems or production generation or fuel supply, then it means that there's a 200,000 megawatt shortfall. That shortfall, if ECG tries to give all of us power, there will be a brownout or a blackout. So some load has to be shared. And that's what we've been seeing for the past few months.
One of the things you said is it's either we could have the ECJ misappropriating funds. And of course, the PRC is supposed to be biting. Do you think that probably it is time to stop treating the ECJ with kid gloves?
The PRC must be tough. The PRC must push the ECJ to its limits to deliver its mandate or part of the bargain to the other players within the value chain. If they keep on playing soft with them, of course, then, like we've said already, they are equally promoting inefficiencies and they are promoting, an unreliable power sector.
Nana, before you go, how tough can the ECG get? Can the PRC get on ECG?
First, this PRC is even agreeing that ECG can have as high as 15% of technical losses. Cut it down. Push them to work so that they are efficient here. Don't give them more than 10%.
We'll have to end it here, and we do apologize for the poor quality of the line there, but that was the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security, Nana Amoasie the 7th. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. When we come back, we'll bring you that story about the 2023 All-African Games and the details. Don't go away.
Diaba, Adama for Diaba, a freezer, Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama, Metamosua, my sorry, Canino, Obo Moasia, a good friend from Nobium Unumi and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for Adama, one who said, yet the Adruba Cope, a bishop will be a high technology. I could for freezer, when Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here? If we be any of us, you equity say, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among Ammoniaji. Omtina me, Miwasika, Omtina me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I feel Kayona Kinkai in Choya a dream.
You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. Now, a member of Parliament's Sports Committee, BT Baba, has bemoaned the organizational defect that has plagued Ghana's hosting of the ongoing African Games, citing the local organizing committee of delivering an unimpressive job so far. Speaking to 3FM News, the former Ghana Olympic Committee boss and MP for Talensi said that Parliament must conduct a full-scale probe into the organization of the Games when it comes to an end later this month.
Unfortunately, I don't think things have gone on too well, especially before the opening ceremony. I was surprised to hear that there was blackout, which we popularly call doomsday, 2 hours before the opening ceremony. And that compelled the athletes who were at the Games Village to run out of their hostel to find comfort in open space. This has never happened. We have known this erratic power supply to be with us for some time. So in preparing for the Games, we should have taken this into consideration and made adequate arrangements to forestall this kind of doomsday that we are experiencing. And it is not only at Legon, but at Cape Coast as well. When the women were playing their match, midway they had to stop because there was power failure. I think this does not send good signal to the local organizing committee.
And you heard there, BT Baba, he is a member of Parliament's Sports Committee and also a former boss of Ghana Olympic Committee. I'm joined in the studio now by Thierry Nyan. He's with our sports team. Thierry, should I rather say that there have been mixed reactions to our performance and everything around it? What are the highlights you have for us?
Well, talk about highlights. Ghana won our first medals over the weekend, and so in weightlifting, Winifred Intumi won 3 medals actually. 1 gold in the 45 kg weightlifting, and then also won 2 silver medals in the 49 kg weightlifting, and that is one of the few good news that we have around the games. Later on in the day, we had Abeku Jackson also winning silver in the swimming, and so I mean, all of this goes to show the improvements that we have in some of these individuals. With the weightlifting lady, for example, in Tunis, she won 3 bronze medals in the 2019 edition in Morocco. So clearly, this is good progress. But then there is the negatives. You know, there's all the questions thrown around about the organization, the money, and all that. Athletes are complaining about logistics. They are complaining
$48 million spent on operational.
Yeah, operational budgets.
Yes.
And this is different from the $195 million spent on facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And the same facilities we are having issues with. For example, badminton was supposed to start on a Tuesday. It was postponed to Wednesday because of wind speed. How did we not know that the ball is too light and will be carried by the slightest of air? And that's where we are. You look at the 48 million, and it was supposed to go into a lot of the operation. So medicals was supposed to go into transportation. Talk about transportation. How are athletes being carried in a pickup bucket? 8 athletes carried in a pickup bucket to Baltimore, and they were complaining bitterly. And it's because we have failed to look at the important parts of this.
In fact, I heard Intumi yesterday saying that those who were doing the cycling, they had to buy their own bicycles.
And that's where we are. So, I mean, when I heard the bicycle bit, I said, you know what, the bicycles are even more expensive than things as small, tiny, less expensive as a table tennis racket. I mean, think about it. So they were supposed to provide all of that. There are times where media guys would go into these facilities and would not be able to see any branding that points them in the right direction. Nothing is happening. It's almost as if we said we were going to host the games. The athletes are in town. Over 6,000 athletes are in town. Think about how we commit 48 million to the operational budget. 16 million out of the 48 is for the village. That's for the accommodation. And that amount is supposed to actually work on buildings that already existed. The diaspora in Legon, that is the 4 halls in Legon, were not renovated but touched on, because then 4 bedrooms would now become 2 bedrooms and all that, and painting and fumigation, and $16 million was committed to that.
And even while
even that foreign teams like Tunisia and Egypt arrived here last Wednesday, and they didn't have anywhere to go. They had to be checked into hotels.
Have we had any explanation, for instance, as to why the ambulances came late and they even came without fuel?
For the cycling, you mean? And all of this is, so far, no official statement. And so we are waiting on that. But as we know, it is just part of the mishandling of the state funds and, the misorganization.
That's what it is.
That is happening, yes. Because clearly, if there was any proper planning that goes into hosting of any events as big as this, we will not be seeing some of these mistakes. I mean, the opening ceremony had a lot of empty seats. What sort of marketing did you do to whip up interest in people? Because trust me, about 2 months before the start of the games, we didn't see a single billboard in town. The only billboards, actually, even as we speak, in town are just around the Legon Stadium.
And for me, one of the major publicities, I think, was when the president spoke about it during his 6th March speech.
A lot of people got to know about it through that and through a few other new marketing strategies that the LOC decided to. Now, talk about the LOC. They themselves are even complaining because and I'll have to protect the sources in there. They say that the ministry is hoarding a lot of the funds in the operational budgets that are supposed to be used for the operations of the games. And so their hands are tied at the moment. They just don't know how to get around a lot of the things they are supposed to do. They know what's ahead of them. They know the KPIs, but unfortunately the means to get those things achieved are in there because the monies are being hoarded by the Minister of Youth and Sports and the entire ministry.
Thank you very much, Thierry Nyan. certainly we'll be getting more on this later. Time is up. That's how we end the news here on 3FM. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Busy on this frequency, 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Business Daily. In our lineup this afternoon, banks record decline in bad debt by 79.2% in 2023 amid persistent non-performing loans concerns. We'll bring you details. Also, interest rates on Treasury bills market falls for 10 consecutive weeks to reach 26.7% as government gets 4.83 billion cedis in latest auction. We'll bring you details. I am Bismarck Kausa. To our very first story, banks have seen a remarkable 79.2% reduction in bad debts, amounting to 4.33 billion cedis for the year 2023. This is a significant improvement from the previous year's 20.8 billion cedis. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. This positive development was attributed to lower impairments on financial assets reported by banks, resulting in a contraction of total provisions and impairments. However, despite this progress, concerns over asset quality lingered due to the enduring impact of 2022's macroeconomic challenges on the banking sector. The industry's non-performing loan (NPL) ratio surged to 20.7% in December 2023 from 16.6% in December 2022, reflecting elevated risks. Even with a moderated growth in the stock of NPLs, the NPL ratio, adjusted for fully provisioned loan loss categories, rose to 8.4%. The NPL stock itself increased by 37.4% to 15.8 billion cedis in December 2023, underscoring the ongoing challenges faced by Ghanaian banks in managing asset quality. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Moving on, it's been 10 weeks running as interest rates on the Treasury market have seen marginal declines. After the recent Treasury auction, interest rates fell to 26.7%, following about 12.7% oversubscription. The following News Desk report has the details.
Since the beginning of 2024, following the decline in inflation rate and the receipt of the second tranche of IMF support funds, yields have been falling consistently. Results of the latest Treasury bill auction by the Bank of Ghana showed that yields on the 91-day bill fell by 25 basis points to 26.74%. That of the 182-day bill also declined to 29.24% from 29.49% previously, whereas the one-year bill also saw a decline in yields to 29.84%. Government accepted all bids tendered for the 91, 182, and 364-day bills and realized 4.83 billion cedis at the end of the auction against a target of about 4.285 billion cedis. That represents an oversubscription of about 12.7%. In all, a chunk of the bids were from the 91-day bill, from which government realized about 2.72 billion cedis. For the 182-day bill, about 919.4 million cedis was realized, and about 1.18 billion cedis for the 364-day bill. The decline in yields, according to market watchers, are expected to continue in the coming weeks following increased investor confidence and a relatively stable inflation rate and local currency.
And that was a report by my colleague Menu Aful on the latest Treasury Bills auction. Moving on, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Emmanuel Cherry, is calling for a proper consultation in government's proposal to introduce uniformed cement prices in across the country. Minister of Trade and Industry Katie Hammond has hinted government plans to introduce unified cement pricing scheme to regulate prices to ensure fairness and avoid exploitations. The chamber has lauded the initiative, saying it is long overdue.
With the proposition seeking for a price regulations in the market, is a welcoming news. And as we speak, the industry or the price of cement product in the market is completely out of hand. There's no proper control because each manufacturing sector is trying to price their product based upon the quality that they have released into the market, which is not helping the industry per se. Because normally, if you should go into the cement production, you see that the product itself has its own qualities. And there are compositions of chemicals that constitute to the final product of cement that we see in the market today.
Meanwhile, the chamber is also calling for proper regulations to ensure some cement manufacturers do not take undue advantage of unified pricing system to introduce substandard products onto the market.
Even though you are going to regulate the price, all of them are going to be on the same bracket. Now 32R is going to be this price, 32N is going to be this price, 42, 52, and what have you are all going to be on this particular price. But going to the technicalities, you see that even though they are the same price, but there is a substandard materials in there. So those who are producing the substandard are going to end up making more money than those who are possibly doing the right things, putting the right dosage, the right ratios and what have you into their finished product. So that is where the challenges will be. But all the same, I believe it's not going to just be a silos of a decision that is going to slap on everybody, but it's going to be a holistic engagement with the manufacturers themselves.
And that was Emmanuel Cherry, the Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. I want to take you back to the earlier story which concerns rising non-performing loans whilst the bad debt of banks have reduced. And Senior Finance Lecturer of University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Abmoa, believes banks are justified to cut loans because of financial sector reforms, but says it is not good for the economy.
Banks suffered from the investment in government bonds. So it is natural that banks will be very careful going forward in giving out loans or creating assets in some instruments that promises or poses huge risk to them. What we have to do is to compare this over 79% reduction to the growth in loans to assess the possibility of a shift in bank income generating activities from loan to other asset classes. In doing this, we also have to consider the justification for such a strategy by the banks and what this turn in events will imply for the economy in general. It is so because any attempt to sacrifice loans to the private sector for any other asset class does not spell well for the overall economy. So for the banks, it is a good strategy. But if you are looking at the overall economy and the need for credit to lubricate economic activities in the economy, then a shift in bank loan generating activities to other asset class will deprive the economy the needed lubrication to survive.
And that was Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, ending Business Daily with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company.